Hey, welcome in to Tony Talking Trash About Music.
This band played at the Metro. Our turn people at the show. The rock show was awesome. It whipped the police ass.
That's what you get, folks. That's a typical rejoinder. Now, we'll see if any of that takes us off, Joe, and we'll edit accordingly. But, man, this is the outsider tour de force as far as I'm concerned. This is probably my favorite to this day outsider artist, and that would be one Wesley Willis. Wesley Willis was certainly a unique character. He was originally first probably recognized as a visual artist in Chicago, and I'll show you some things later on in that regard. And there's plenty of stuff online. There's a documentary done by him, Artist in the Streets. He was born in May 31st, 1963. Grew up in Chicago. Grew up in the projects. Grew up in a very difficult situation, but somehow found himself over to this art store. And by that time, he'd become a very well-known person because number one of his personality, number two his size, and number three some of the sayings that he had, and they peppered through his music. And you're wondering, well, how did the music thing start? Well, it actually grew out of, I think, this guy by the name of Bob Fredericks, who had taped Wesley at the art store. I think it's called Genesis Art Store. It was where he'd met Carla Winterbottom, and they had gotten together, and she'd recognized his uniqueness and actually offered him a place to live. There was this myth for a long time. I know on the Howard Stern show episode, you see, there was this myth that they said that Wesley was homeless. Wesley was never homeless. Wesley lived in a pretty abusive household on the south side of Chicago. There's all kind of stuff peppered through the music about the dysfunction and the hardships that he had. But nevertheless, he brought himself to the better side of Chicago. And the one thing he liked is, and you'd find out from this music, but he liked to ride buses around. He liked to get to the country. He liked to go different places. So one of the things about his music career later that was so great is it allowed him to travel while he was on tour. And I saw him 3 times, and saw him in DC twice, and I think I saw him 4 times. I saw him in Morgantown twice, down at the 123 Pleasant Street, and just nice as hell, man. I mean, he and his handlers, and they were different people sometimes, but what do you want to say? I mean, he started off. He was born in the projects. Terrible relationship. One of 10 kids, diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic at a young age, and he wanted to be an architect essentially. But one of the most amazing things you're going to see is if you look at some of these movies, Wesley had a photographic memory. He would see something and he would see all of it, including the advertisement on the back of it, including the shape of the skyline. He would be on a bus in Indianapolis and be drawing the skyline of Chicago because it was in his mind, down to the detail of the little indentations and brick and the way that it looked from a specific angle. He was seen on one of the videos they have. Well, he was seen sitting at the top of the Space Needle, I think, or somewhere like that, really high up, and showing his art to people. And here he's doing skyline drawings of Chicago, and he's in like Seattle. It's just, the guy was like that. I mean, the guy did street things, whatever was in his mind. There's never been anybody like him. Okay, when we get to the music now, what do you got? Well, he was in a band for a while with this guy Dale Miners, who had the band, actually the Wesley Willis Fiasco, and he came into the situation, and they did it. They actually toured. You've probably heard some of the some of the live stuff. I'm sorry that I got fat. That was a big one. The thing about Wesley is a direct communicator without too much filter, and also as far as music goes, there is something in Wesley that is turned on by and continues to foster. I'm sorry, I'm just itching my hand. I don't want you to think I'm doing anything different. Who turned on by the great deal of repetition. When you hear his records, everybody says, I bought his record, but his record was always the same. Well, that's true. I mean, to most people, to what turns people on, to what floats their boat. But there's something about his art and something about his music that is very attractive and is very infectious. Number one, the sincerity of it you can hear. I mean, what are these songs about? Well, number one, they're one fingered pre-programmed keyboard tracks. A lot of them are the same. The one that I played at the beginning of this is the most typical one that he's known for. But I mean, there's a great deal of variety, especially in some of the later records. Some of the stuff better than others. Some of the stuff I liked better than others. Some of them were like hard hitting. And for instance, I'm talking about Magoo One, where you got that down down wow 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 thing going on. I mean, that's for some reason that was his hardest record too. Some of the stuff. But we're going to talk about that. What I want to do today is, I think the way to tackle this is I want to go through his records really quickly. I'm going to go through them all. Then I want to give you guys my favorite top 10. It's unfair for me to say, even say that I know exactly with 100% certainty that this is his definitive limits of the discography. Wesley, of course, toured once he realized he could make CDs and records. He was making one every week. I mean, they would come out, and I mean, and not literally every week, but I mean a ton. In 1995 and 1996 alone, I think at the end of that he got signed to. Believe it or not, he got signed to Rick Rubin's label and put out two regular records, Feel the Power and Fabian Road Warrior, and they're pretty much exactly like the other ones. One of them, it's hilarious. One of them I think was produced by Rubin, and the other was produced by the Dust Brothers. And I mean, Wesley does some Dust Brothers, but I mean, but they're the same. They don't sound any different because Wesley had an idea of what he wanted to do. He wanted to be exactly like that. He and his keyboard brother, that was later known as the Drag News. Hey man, I saw him a bunch. I was around him a bunch, and I want to cut to the chase. I know a lot of people think, well, what you're ha ha ha. You're like, there's humor in it. Believe me, he knows there's humor. I saw him live by the way. One of the times in Morgantown with my I was with a guy I practiced law with was actually interested, and it just shows you the breadth of people that are interested in what he was doing. Uh, and he did Hey Jude, and I mean, and he did. I think there's something on the internet, but I mean, it was exact. The chords were right. He did the right changes. It was out there, man. I mean, but I've seen him do a lot of things. There's an infamous one online that's not on any record that says "bump my head on the shit stand," and I guess he's talking about going to the toilet. But he liked to bump heads with people. That's one of the things about Wesley. You'd see him. He had this. And people had different, interpretations of it, but it was in the area of the third eye where he would headbutt people, and he liked to do that. I mean, that's what he liked to do. They asked him, I think, on Howard Stern, are you able to get girls? He goes, yeah, I can butt their heads and laugh like a jackass. To him, that was what did it for him. The repetition is what did it for him. But the type of the songs, you heard a lot of songs about crime. You heard a lot of songs about people getting sent to jail. There's songs about bands that he loved. That was probably one of his favorite ones. One of the concerts that he was at. They had songs like "Cut the Mullet," who was one of his big hits. "Cut the Mullet," "Rock and Roll McDonald's," which everybody didn't understand that, but it really was a place called Rock and Roll McDonald's in Chicago. I mean, people don't understand that saw that, but there really was an actual places, and probably the one that was the most controversial or the most hard or what's known as his bestiality songs. Those songs are basically those songs are songs that are meant to quell the quote his admitted demons that he had in his head. And he's talking to them, and he gets into this, and he goes. Actually, there's a scene in one of the movies. There's two really extensive uh, documentaries that made Wesley Willis Joyrides, which is one. The other was this. I'm the Daddy of Rock and Roll. They're both really good. They show him on a normal day. What he went through to at Kinko's, to make his records, and how he spent his days, and how much work he actually put into stuff. Saw him taking around records, having him people. Well, one of my favorite my favorite gestures is he goes into one of the rough trade record stores, I think in Chicago, and they said, and he goes, do you have Joe Hunter too? Do you have that? He's going down what he had to like stock the guy. And the guy, some of the things he goes, no, we're good on that one. He goes, oh yeah, we want this. Oh, how about any older ones? And then he asked him, he said, Wesley, are you ever going to release those? He goes, no, the songs are too short. Somebody told him at some point, this is something funny also about the music. Somebody told him at some point that an ideal record was 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So he would have Dale Miners in the studio would slightly speed up, and slightly speed up the tape of the tape. So it would end up exactly taking down to 2:52. You could hear him in the studio on one of the videos. How long's the song? And he goes, it's 2 minutes and 54 seconds. He goes, take it down to 250. And Miners is off camera. What he's going to say, 250. Exactly what he said. So he took it down to that. And, he's just, and the commercials at the end, that's another unique thing about it. He puts a commercial at the end of his songs. He started from the very beginning. So what I want to do is I want to go through these records quickly. I know I'm at the 10-minute mark and I'm still moving here, but there are so many great records that he made that I enjoy. Now, what kind of a person enjoys hearing the same thing? To me, and I guess because maybe I'm like everybody that is, I'm probably somewhere on the spectrum that I enjoy things, if that's what you consider that. I don't know what it takes, but I get a thrill when he starts going down the list. The band played at the Metro. Da, da, da. He checks off the boxes. Something about it does it for me. The way he does it, sometimes he gets real excited. You can tell he likes the band more. But let's talk about these records. Basically, starting in 1994, this guy just cranked them out, man. And I mean, he cranked them out. He cranked them out crazily, and so we're going to try to go through these at the beginning. The first one known to, and I'm just telling you from what I can find out. I'm looking from this deal online. The first one that I could see here was reported one was Radiohead. Although it must be said that Rush Hour later, the music that was related later, actually predated this. But you've got Screw on here. I have to have Neuronic, classics. Jawbreaker, pretty sophisticated effects and stuff with his keyboards at this point. So, but I mean, it was a pretty much straight ahead record. The second record that he came up with was actually supposed to be was a little different. Double Door, and Double Door had a little bit more of a, I think it was more of a ball and chain sound. You have the whipped sound, and but again, the rhythm was pretty much the same. On to record number 3, Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly was again one in 1994. You start getting the gun sounds big time in this record, and that's what, the sound effects. Sometimes he did this thing where the phone would ring. It's this the landlord, don't ever call my house here again. He did that with about the plumber a lot. But anyway, this record, Machine Gun Kelly, is the guns are involved, a lot of gunshot effects. Maybe that's why it was called this. As far as the songs go, it's got the hilarious. I think it's funny. Bongo Congo. Some of the names he picks out, like Mr. Magoo goes to jail, and who's the guy? Chris Kringle was a car thief. He does some pretty funny things and pretty entertaining things. This also includes the original version of My Daddy Got Me High, which is as you're going to see when I do the countdown of my records, one of my favorite. I think it's a pretty intense, stark tune. In here, the rhythm or the background thing didn't hit hard enough. This is not the better version, but it does have the classic version of "They Threw Me Out of Church." For your own entertainment, look online for somebody made a video of it. Basically about Wesley going into a church and then going crazy with it. Mr. Magoo goes to jail. Now, let me tell you about Mr. Magoo goes to jail. There are actually there are 4 Mr. Magoo Goes to Jail. There's Mr. Magoo Goes to Jail, the original version, and these are not the same songs. Then there's years later is Mr. Magoo Jail Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. So this is the one that's none of the volumes, but it's still the first one of 4, okay? What's it all about? Well, it's a little bit of a slower rhythm. You've got a lot of stuff about guitars, do that rock. Occasionally he'll do that. Kind of an unusual one here. Projects whip your ass, which to me is kind of funny thing to do a song like that. But Oil Express is on here, which is one of the rare songs about him getting a car serviced. Of course, he didn't drive. We're still in 1994, people, and the classic Wesley Willis record, Prison Shake, and that's one it's nice to have an original copy of. I do want to say to you guys, I'm not trying to brag, but I don't have them now. I did at one point have a substantial number of these. I had every one I could find. I bought every one every time I saw him. Everyone I would see out, I would buy. But I mean, this is very inspired. This has got Kurt Cobain. And he's really inspired when he sings those things. And ball thrower. You'll find on some of these he sings more than other ones. He likes to sing. He gets into singing. This is one where he was a little bit fired up on. I like Prison Shake. I think Prison Shake is a classic. Now we get into some of the vocal effects here. And we get into the 1994 record, Reverend Norb #1. Now he made again, like I said with the Magoo, there's 2 volumes of this. Is Reverend Norb #1 and #2. And ironic and great thing about it is he did his own artwork, which is really fantastic. And I'll show you a couple examples here in a bit. But what is really great about this one to me is that this has distorted voice, and for some reason he was recorded with a distorted voice. Swerve Driver, Indian Joe's is a pretty good one on here. Spin Doctors is a pretty good one too. But you can hear his vocals, distort some, and so that's the beginning of that. Now the effects really come into play when you get into Reverend Norb #2. Reverend Norb #2 happens to be one of the most effects laden record that he had, and for a long time before I had the whole thing, this was my favorite one because it really had some killer songs. I love Lotion, and these songs have like I think Dale Miners or whoever engineered it put some effects. Okay, well the next one here, Reverend Norb #2 has a fantastic effect of these effects, and they really get outrageous towards the end of them. They're really cool, and you have like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's really cool to hear that name, but it really Arnold Schwarzenegger. This also includes one of my very favorites, and we'll talk about the songs and how they shake out. Jadroplov, which is a baffling story of another clash with a pastor who's tries to pursue this case against the guy that allegedly stole from his pulpit, and then you go through the whole trial. Most of the trials, people are like found guilty. Well, this one he wasn't found guilty. He was he was found not guilty, and then at the end he has his little statement is Reverend Henry E. Miller was mad as a motherfucker. Is what he says at the end of it. It's really funny. But anyway, no, there's fantastic, overwhelming color fest. There's just great echo on that record. One of the most echoey records. We turned it into Atomic Records, the first release of 1995. This is one, that I like, but it's pretty standard. I don't really have any, I don't have any ones of these that are really great here. It's an okay record. But I don't like so much what the sound is here. And when you're talking there, it's slower and a lot of minor keys in for the first time. And I just don't like the way that they're used here. I think they're used better. Now 1995 second record, and one of my favorites especially when you get out the whip, Delilah's was evidently a venue in Chicago, a famous one here, and some great ones, some cool songs on here. You know, not the best as far as all the songs go, but just some funny stuff. He starts to do, you know, he starts a couple of these, which I never heard him say it from this perspective. But put me in jail. He seems to be a little bit overwhelmed with jail here because you get back to back. A couple of my favorites here: 20 years in prison and 10 years in jail, which is basically he tells a story of somebody, and then he sings. He actually sings on 20 years in prison, which 20 years in prison, 20 years. The thing that's great about this is when you have music that's so, not monotonous, but so chill like this, it really changes the perspective of how you look at it. You look at, little insignificant things become something more. I mean, his excitability one on vocals, but number two, his singing and the ones that he really wanted to sing. That's what I enjoyed. So anyway, that's that one. Let's move on. We got a bunch more here to do. We're going with let's see what we got here. Let's go with 1996. Then comes the next one. They have, I guess, Drag Disharmony, Hell Ride, and that is one that again a little blurry. You know, that record has a little bit of a blurry sound. Not so much the ones that I like. I don't like ones with that effect. Sometimes they're good, sometimes not. 1995's Fireman Rick, though. Fireman Rick is really a special record. I like it a lot. I think it's very, very personable, and it's got a very like straightforward. It doesn't have that kind of stuff. And this is one that he really sings like on this song Carl Will about this guy sings Carl Will, Carl Will, Carl Will. It's really interesting and really neat. Freak Out Hell Ride too. Okay, now begins with this record. I think that's the first one of his songs about riding on mass transportation and having the demons talk to him, and that the story about how things went bad. And I don't know if you've seen any of his things, but he would actually keep track of how many bad rides he had in the thing. He would document them, and he'd say I had 4,225 or whatever, and it was real. I mean, Carla and Winterbottom, all the people that knew him were close to him all the time. You know, knew that and got used to it. But yeah, the next one was released, I guess, was a full album. Was probably the compilation greatest hits. You should just pick that up. I'm not going to pepper through that or really count that much. Although it does have some songs on it that are not, but it has the best stuff like Kris Kringle was a car thief, the Chicken Cow, Vampire Bat, Outburst, Chronic Schizophrenia. Those are pretty well known things. It's a little bit of a quieter thing where he sings in like this hush voice. It's kind of spooky. I don't really like it much. Jason Rao from 1995 was one of the next records of his own. I don't really a lot of this record. It's okay, but I've never really got into it. Here becomes the beginning of number 15, Suck a Camel's Ass. There it is. There's number 15. That's the first one that I've seen that is the straightforward, message to the demons, so to speak. Let's go to 1995's Rock Power. Another one that's kind of going through the motions here. It's got the classic sound. It's got the effects. It's got some stuff about the cars and stuff. But again, the songs, they threw him in jail is pretty cool. Throw My Ass in Jail. See, once again, when the jail songs come, for some reason they did. I saw him down in D.C. One of the times I saw him in D.C., he just became obsessed with that. And like 6 or 7 songs in a row was Put Me in the Squad Car, Take Me to Jail, Take Me to, I mean, just one song after the next. I don't know if he got spooked that day outside with the with the police, but he seemed okay. We saw him outside before as he was coming in. But that's that. Okay, you go on then to the next record, and the next record is about Tammy Smith, and Tammy's one of the closest people to him for years and years and years. This, though, unfortunately, the music to this almost sounds like a polka at times. It's a straight boom chick through the whole thing. So to me, that's kind of a little bit of a downfly. You've got douse me with gasoline, and he says dose me with gasoline, which is interesting. But it's douse, but he says dose. Dr. Wax it puts a whole new rhythm in. That's the next record in 1995. You've got you know, three demon songs in it. So to me, maybe that new rhythm set it off because but then you've got the violent songs about getting shot, plug me full of holes, which is to me is, people the way he says it, but you got suck a horse's ass, ply the donkey's ass with a whip. He's really tree my ass, dumpster my ass, suck a dog. I mean, this is a pretty violent record to tell you the truth, Dr. Wax. But I just don't like I'm not crazy about the music. Wesley Willis, surprisingly or not, from the same year, 1995, I'm just not as enamored with that record, even though it's got a song about himself, of course, Ted Wigman and Ben Wigman back to back. That's kind of funny. Two songs about people. They're almost exactly the same, and they're Ted and Ben, and they're back to back. Like song, what is it, 13 and 14. The song Mr. Magoo Goes to Jail, Don't Curse in God's House, is on this also. Decent record, but nothing outstanding. Darren Hacker, I like Darren Hacker. I had Darren Hacker. Darren Hacker, believe it or not, has a color cover, and it's unusual for his art. It has also Jefferson Airplane on this, Courtney Love, Nerve Shattering Hell Ride, but surprisingly not. Just put the gun down, which is surprising. Then about that time, I guess the Wesley Willis Spooky Disharmonies live record came. Certainly you should get that. But that's him with a real band playing different things. They actually do a cover of Girls on Film by Duran Duran, and a great song, one of his songs, he writes about other bands, called The Frogs, which is just superb, man. Now comes to the light. 1996, Mr. Magoo goes to jail. 1996, Volume 1. This record, man, is something new has happened in this. And you hear the it's hard. I don't know if he wants to be. This is his version of gangster rapper or whatever. But this record clearly stands out from the others, and it has its delights. It's hardcore. I know somebody hassled him about it. He might have backed off from it later because they asked him, about his songs. He goes, "No, I didn't do this or that just because I wrote a song about it. It's fantasy," he was explaining. But anyway, I Murdered Your Family is the first song. I Killed Your Father Last Night. Pontiac Correctional Center, Put Me Behind Bars, Bust a Cap in My Ass. We're only to song 8. Shatter My Joy, My Dad. And here's the one with the version of My Daddy Got Me High, which is just stunning. I mean, you should hear it regardless of whether you like the music or not. I think there's a message there that's pretty intense. He's got a song, He Stuck Me Up. I Smoke Weed, which is the most insane thing you've ever heard. You hear the song, I Smoke Weed. Well, he sings, I smoke weed. But he's not talking about weed. He's talking about the crack pipe from the very beginning, and like several, he's not talking about weed at all. It's just so disorienting that he doesn't maybe know the difference. I'm not sure. Pick Out Your Coffin. He Threw Me Out of Church, which is another one. But then you've got just everything. Kiss My Black Ass is on this, which is a killer. Taste the Pandas. I mean, it's just Call the Police on Me. This is one of the records, man. This really is a nasty spirit. And, for a change after the stuff that he did and the stuff, it was a real cage rattler. I think it's great. I think it's one of the strongest ones. Now we go to Mr. Magoo number 2. And it goes back to the blurry stuff. And I just do not like it as much. There's not as many songs that I like. You've got some songs still about getting shot and shoot me with the gun. And, your bestiality songs, you got a handful of those. And you got another one called Make Me Bust My CD Player, which is one of the things he used to say, that people could do with him. And then number 3, we get on to number 3. Number 3, Mr. Magoo Goes to Jail, which is probably the least consequential of all those 3. I'm not crazy about it much. I think it's different, and I'm just not as big of a fan. But I Killed Your Daddy Yesterday. I Jacked Your Car. You still got the violent stuff happening. He killed a policeman. It's all right. It's gangsters utopia, but to me, it's the least of the bunch. New York has a definite sound to it. It's a little bit fast. It's a different rhythm. I don't like it near as much. Some of the songs are from this couple of them are, I've done a poor job. I'm slimming down, which is kind of, I'm sorry that I got fat part two. Chicken Cow is on it another time. Suck my Rottweiler's ass is on it, which is pretty good. But the ones back to back, man, they're a couple of them back to back that are really good. Okay, now we get the major label. He gets to sign to the major label, and what happens? He keeps them coming in the same way. Shoot my jam session down, ward my rock music off. It's against the law, which was a popular one that he got asked for. Well, he told people what not to do, and then just the other standard stuff that he did leads you into the second one. A little more depraved. Dust Brothers produced "Feel the Power," and Feel the Power has Fit Throwing Hell Ride, which is the first one. Dust Brothers is the last song. He leaves for but it's song number 24. It's exactly the same as if they would have produced it. I can't tell what they did here with it. The compilation of rock and roll will never die is something everybody should get. It's a classic with all the songs, and got the classic Pink Floyd on it that he just sings so beautifully on. Blacklight Diner, the next one, 1996. And we're still 1996, folks. This is like 2 years after the thing. He just did not slow down, man, with this. He slowed down a little bit later, but I'm trying to look at some more of these songs, see if I Deserve a Warhouse Ride. Some of the songs about people. A lot of songs. Mojo Nixon's on this one, which is kind of a good one. Dale Miners yelled at me, so I guess he's talking about the dissolution that happened. They went on tour, and that was the end of the fiasco. Metal Clink Punishment, Jail. West talks a lot about jail, I'm supposed, in this one, but sometimes the a lot of criminal and demon stuff here. Make sure I'm screwing out. A lot of Make Me Yell on City Buses, Sucker Great. A lot of an overabundance of bestiality songs, and a lot of talk. Make Me Yell at City Bus Drivers. I broke in your daddy's car. I broke out your windshield. He likes to say, I broke out your windshield. I stuck my fingers in there. For some reason, the fingers are always mentioned. But anyway, that's Metal Punishment, Clink Jail. Rock and Roll Jack Flash. The next one I'm not crazy about. Never one that I was really, really big about. It says it's the drag news. He starts off with "It's the Second Coming" with the Jesus stuff, but it also has a great song, "My Mother Smokes Crack Rock." So, and people probably laugh at this thing with not knowing what it is. I'm just telling you, man. If you've got a taste for something, you may have taken a wrong take with this guy, because this guy made some pretty entertaining stuff. 40 Years in Prison. I always like the ones with the prison things. Or the song about REM is on here. Let's go to one of the great ones, SMD production, the introduction of the duck voice, which is for Old Pike, which is great. Dovetail Joint. And this is the one with Cut the Mullet, because the harmonies on the and people love that. But Cars Get Crushed, You Better Find My Pistol. A lot of this from I'm Daddy Rock and Roll, which then the movie was made based on this. But this is one of SMD productions. I never said anything to him about it. I wanted to, but I think it means my productions. That's what I think it means. But that's what he said. Anyway, Greatest Hits #2 came out after that. Let's talk about Silverfish SeaWorld. Again, another one that I'm not really crazy about. I don't know about what the the guitar spacey, some demon stuff. Guitar Rock of Ages, same thing. Dead End Street, running through the same stuff. I think a lot of these from this period, a lot of things about the state patrol, state correctional centers, and state patrol out on the way, and certainly your share of good bestiality songs, plenty of them. So, that's kind of what it is. The next one was kind of a revelation. This Rush Hour that came out, and it's basically from an older time, but that is a record that needs to be checked out. That has the beginning of Boomerang, and it has a lot of really, really good stuff. I mean, Vampire Bat, that's all this cool stuff. Shake Your Piggy Bank, later, a later recording here. We're not sure from when that came. I think it's a little bit after the fact of these others. Not really big with it. And then came the Joe Hunters. There's a couple Joe Hunter records. Joe Hunter #1. Joe Hunter #1 had a kind of a slurred, some of his vocals and some of this stuff, and I don't know, had to do with the vocal with his medication he was on, but it just appeared to be to be much. I am much more of a fan of maybe Joe Hunter 2, which has a little bit better tracks, but at the same time has the same stuff. You've got the same things with the songs about prison. This the same stuff. Bands that he had, but there's really not much of that. Never Kill an Ape is definitely one that his voice is slurred, vocals and the effects, and it's kind of not very. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like drugged out Wesley. I'm not crazy about it. Ass Cap is a little bit lighter. That's one that came later. Fool's Gold is kind of rock based riff. You've got Torture Demon Hell Ride, which was again one of the last ones that I didn't have. That was the one that I really couldn't found. But again, nothing at that point that I hadn't heard before. Full Heavy Metal Jacket, Greatest Hits Volume 3, blah blah blah. So anyway, that's it. Going through. Poor Wesley died, and made these records and moved. I remember when I went to see him one time. He had. He didn't have the stuff. He asked me, they asked me, hey, can I dub your CDs? And they were actually taking my CDs and then reselling them as some of the old stuff. But anyway, let me give you my favorites, okay? There's my top 10. Here's my top 10 Wesley. And before I do, let me show you something. I got something special to show you. Here's me at a younger age before I had all this hair. Check it out, man. Me and the man. Morgantown, West Virginia. See over the left shoulder, Wesley there? That's a picture I have. And I'll show it to you in just a second. Yeah, pretty precious photo, huh? I love the man. I loved him. Anyway, got this drawing from him. He did a quick truck. It took him about 10 seconds. I think it cost me like $5 or $10. But here was the one that cost a lot. And the markers have changed a little bit. You can't see the blue markers, but yeah, man. I'm a fan. Look at the detail on the pilot truck. Problem is the blue at the top, the blue stuff is gone. I could make a whole other thing about his art, man. I'm just telling you, I love the guy, man. I did. I mean, he truly had a connection to him. I was really sad to see him die the way it went. My God, what a spirit. And it's reflected in my top 10. Number 10, I talked about Delilah's before. That one. Number 9, Darren Hacker. I talked about Darren Hacker. Darren Hacker has some of the cool songs that is moving. Number 8, I would go with Dead End Street. I know I spoke that it wasn't one of my favorite ones of that bunch, but I think it came on the end of a lot of good ones. Number 7, Prison Shake. I talked about the classic one that you saw out there before. Number 6 would be Radiohead, the initial one we let off with. That would be my number 6. Number 5 would be Fireman Rick. Number 4, Rush Hour. That early one I talked about with all the cool stuff. The boomerang. I love it. Number 3, SMD Productions, as I talked about, the beginning of the duck voice. Okay. I love it. Number 2, Reverend Norb number 2. We talked about that with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'd say start to end. That's one of the second most enjoyable listening. And number 1, as I indicated before, the hard gangster Wesley Willis album, Mr. Magoo Goes to Jail Volume 1, which hits hard and has my Daddy Got Me High and just just cool stuff, man. I smoke weed, all the hard hitting ones, man. All the ones about, I murdered your family. Dun, 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 dun. It really cuts the EQ of it. Anyway, guys, I hope this wasn't too long. I know it was really long, but I don't know anywhere else you're going to find somebody who spent as much of their life or whatever it is on this guy. I just became fascinated with him, and I just developed a love for him. If somebody was trying to the best of their abilities to do the best that he could, and in doing that, he created art. You see, I think an important thing with this to me, and kind of what my message is to some of you guys, is where you're coming from, whether you're the Shags or whether they're almost like Wayne Shorter says, there are no mistakes. There's no laughing. This is where you're at, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy a unique point of view. Enjoy somebody operating in a limited playground, if you can get into it. Some people can't. Some people, minimalist electronics and stuff, I don't have much interest in it. A lot of people love that stuff right about the turn of the 80s, some of those bands. They're kind of were influenced by Suicide, stuff like that. But this is true outsider art. He is my favorite outside artist. God rest his soul, and I will be back at you guys very soon for my own top countdown of Wesley songs. And I think we'll do a top 40. Catch you guys later. Thanks. Thanks for bearing with me on this one. Have a good one. Remember to smash that like button now. Do that when you come in, right when you come in. You don't have to worry about it then. Thanks. See you later.